Welcome in to another episode of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you by our great sponsors in Royal Links Golf Tours. Have you always wanted to play at St. Andrews? Have you ever enjoyed that perfect pint of Guinness in Ireland? Well, with Royal Links Golf Tours, you can. They are a golf tour specialist offering unforgettable golf experiences in Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. Their custom itineraries are more than golf trips. They are immersive cultural and country experiences that will surprise and delight you both on and off the course. Royal Links Golf Tours is owned by former Bearcat quarterback Hayden Moore and his partner, UC alum Jeff Bartholomew. So if you'd like to play St. Andrews or Ballybunion and enjoy that perfect pint of Guinness, please visit their website at royallinksgolftours.com or call them at 770-331-1525. And with that, we are back for the, I don't like saying bye week, the off week edition of the brunch. Got to break out the hoodies, sweats this morning. It was officially cold. A very welcome sight. How about for you, Jeff?
Maybe if I unmute myself because I was laughing when Aaron started this thing up a little bit prematurely.
No, I told him to, and then I wanted him to stop. So it's my fault. My fault. Don't blame the producer.
He does a good job back there. No, it's fantastic. The weather's awesome. It's finally like fall. It's not, 8,000 degrees. And my kids all had to wear thermals yesterday to their sporting activities as they were early in the morning. So enjoying it. Feels like football weather.
It does. Very, very happy about that. Was very happy to, I enjoy the off weeks. I enjoy the just kind of getting to sit and take in everything for a Saturday. When you tailgate and you go to the game, you can miss a lot of the details, a lot of the not behind the scenes, but just kind of the inner workings of a Saturday. You kind of just see the box scores and follow a little bit on Twitter. But it was a fun day yesterday. There were some good games. There were some head scratching games. I don't know how much we'll really get into UC stuff. I mean, the Monday show kind of did a first half-ish recap. Chad and I did kind of a Wednesday night, did more of a okay, what things can we, look to improve upon for the back half of the season if we're going to, kind of turn the tide, so to speak, a little bit in these games and in these situations really that have gone against the Bearcats when a lot of other, things have been going well. So, if you're in the chat and you have a question, we'll certainly try to answer them, but we're going to kind of just go a little bit more big picture, a little bit more of what we saw yesterday and of what we've seen kind of through the first 6 weeks of the season. I guess let's start it right at the top. Noon, last Red River of Big 12 era. And I don't know if you know this, but UC and Texas have something considerably in common this year in football.
Both lost to Oklahoma.
Well, that's two things then. They both lost to Oklahoma, and they both stink in the red zone. I think going into the game, Texas was 108, and that's pretty much why they lost the game. I think 3 red zone trips, at least in the first half, 3 points. So even when the horns are back, I guess they're not all the way back.
Yeah, that's I see. So yesterday, I had kids sports, so I had to follow everything the same way I normally do, which is just looking at the little score bug going across the screen at the football game and
right,
that kind of thing. So I did see that Quinn Ewers started the game off with everybody's well, that's a huge mistake right off the rip. So I assume there was a turnover of some sort there at the beginning. But the way some of the people were talking about it was that Texas got totally blown out, and it was a 4-point game. So
they certainly made it. It was not it was I think 27-17. I mean, it was on the verge of blowout territory, and then they did have a nice couple drives at the end, and since you didn't see the game, it's kind of tough to describe, but I thought Sarkisian's calls on the last drive when they ended up kicking a field goal, like I was kind of thinking like you should be trying to go score a touchdown. And even though you were down 3, and they did give up a sack, which probably changed things a little bit, but it just felt like a little too conservative given what OU is capable of offensively. And it kind of came to fruition. I mean, they left them a little bit over a minute, and they went right down the field, and Dylan Gabriel made a great throw to Nick Anderson. I don't even know how he could have seen him with the way that the pressure was and kind of how the routes were. But, I mean, from 6-6 last year to this, you have to give a lot of credit to Brent Venables, especially getting the defense figured out, because coming in, Texas had been pretty impressive. I would say, them and Michigan to me were kind of through 5 weeks been the most consistently impressive teams. And to pretty much not shut them down, but I mean, like I said, you held them to 17 going into the late stages of the game. So, very, very good stuff from Oklahoma so far this season.
I mean, you look at that, and it is a little bit more impressive what UC was able to do to Oklahoma, even in a loss. And
yes,
and then
if I had told you,
right, exactly. Maybe that's what this should be. The if I had told you, Bearcat Brunch Royal Links Golf Tour, whatever.
2023 Cincinnati Bearcats. If I had told you,
it's almost it's a perfect 30 for 30 episode.
Yeah.
If I had told you, so that's it makes it even more of a head scratcher what goes on down there in Clifton right now, but. There was another. You speak of a coach having some questionable decision making towards the end of a football game, and that leads me to think about Miami, Georgia Tech.
I first want to say that I didn't see the end until this morning, and I didn't actually see any of the game until like Twitter this morning. Miami lost because of those uniforms. Let's just get one thing straight right out of the gate. Like those uniforms, I don't there's words don't describe how bad those were.
The you don't like the all black with like the neon green and orange?
Yeah, like orange and then like a different color green with like it. I mean, it's very Miami. I feel like you could just wear that to like a club at 3:00 in the morning and run some lines of cocaine with John Ruiz, their big NLI guy. But yeah, like, and this is apparently the second time he's done this. There's now reports from like an 18 game Oregon Stanford where he did the same thing, like didn't take a knee, ran the ball, they fumbled, and Stanford won.
That clip showed up right on my Twitter feed as you were talking about it. It was the strangest thing in the entire world.
Wait, like, which one? The clip of the Oregon game or the clip of the one from last night?
The Oregon game.
Like, what are you doing, man?
It doesn't even make sense.
The other 30-yard line, you're winning. Like, there is zero reason to run an actual play.
It was third down. Somebody said that there was like, I don't know, there was maybe confusion if Georgia Tech had a timeout, but even if they have a timeout left,
so what?
Like, and then like, I mean, I guess to Georgia Tech's credit, it was they still had to go 75 yards.
They still had to. I mean, the one throw was like perfectly feathered over a Miami player that the guy caught on the sideline, and then the next throw was a really nice throw where the guy was pretty much wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you letting a guy get behind you in that situation? But yeah, it was a comedy of errors. But like, it all started because the atrocity that they put on their bodies to wear in that game. You play how you look, and they looked like shit, and they played like shit.
Well, I don't know. They played totally. They made a poor decision at the end of the game.
Jeff, the team they lost to got blown out by Bowling Green last week, who did not score against Miami, Ohio yesterday.
Hey, Hey, they're an even 3-3 on the season. Georgia Tech is, and they're 2-1 in the conference.
Sure.
And
They were
maybe
blown.
that's
They
why
were blown out.
the ACC is going to disappear.
They were
Just like
blown out at
Pac-12.
home by Bowling Green.
What uniforms was Bowling Green wearing that week?
I mean, their usual ugly orange and brown ones. I'm
Orange
sure.
and brown, or were they like in like a full-on brown get up with like the orange highlights?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you have that. Like, if we're like, USC. I was loving them earlier in this year. Now I think they're going to lose 3 games. Like, what do you I mean? Backup quarterback Arizona, double, triple overtime. Like, what is going on out there? They just seem like it's very raggedy. Even when they're good, it's like sack, then pick up 3rd and long, or like false start, make it very hard on yourself. Caleb Williams bails you out. That's not going to work against Oregon, Washington, Oregon State. Someone, Notre Dame. Someone is going to get them, and probably multiple teams if they keep playing like this.
The surprising stuff started was a week ago, where it was kind of like everybody thought, like, by halftime the game would be socked away, and like almost like the little league running clock kind of thing, and that didn't happen. And now here's another. I mean, they just apparently can't stop anyone from scoring. And that's why they need to put up 80 points. And then you're in a game
with them and Jed Fish. Like, I guess, like, why wouldn't you go for 2 in the overtime to win? Like, I feel like you always do that when you have a team like that on the ropes.
Yeah,
it's supposed to beat you, and like you can beat them. Like, you have to take that chance. No one's gonna get mad at you if you go for the win and lose to USC on the road in overtime or whatever that was, double overtime. Like, no one's gonna say like, oh, well, you should have kicked the extra point. Natalie, I don't, is USC playing with a lot of pressure trying to win, but the Pac-12 is really good. Like, I don't think they have to just beat all these teams, but they're playing bad. Like, if they would beat Oregon or beat Washington, I don't know their schedule, but like, they have opportunities to get really good wins, and if they were to go undefeated, they would easily make the playoff.
Yeah,
based on who they would beat. So like, they shouldn't have any pressure to win by a lot because they don't need to.
And they're stumbling across the.
I mean, they're playing bad against the bottom of their own conference the last couple of weeks.
Like, they gave up. I mean, that's 506 yards of total offense that Arizona had yesterday. 506. Yeah. That is insane. Almost 10 yards a pass and 5 yards per rush they gave up.
Not great, especially when you're not playing one of the the Oregon or Washington offenses.
Right. But when you beat that, you allow all that, and you are still able to win. Maybe that's the impressive part.
Yeah, the win is still the important part, but it's like you're tempting fate, aren't you? I mean, you have to do. Not every game is the transitive property theory. Like, just because you only beat Arizona State and Arizona by a little bit doesn't mean that you're not going to beat Oregon or Washington. But like, you're not going to beat them playing like that.
I mean, if I told you.
How about if I told you that a team in the Big 12 gave up 399 yards on the ground? Would you think that they won or lost?
Lost.
They did. That would be our friends at the University of Donald Duck. Oh,
no.
They look... Okay, so I think the Baylor game last week took its toll this week because they came out like Kansas absolutely blitzed them from Jump Street. Like, it was gross how bad it was initially. The score made it look closer than it was. It was not that close. They look small.
It was not 51-22.
No, because I think it was 31-0. They almost gave up 2 kick return. I mean, they gave up 1 kick return for a touchdown, and then the guy tripped over his own player. He would have had a second one. Like I said, 399 yards on the ground. They look small. There was a stat that they're like DBs, their entire back end, safeties, DBs, whatever, average 178 pounds. Like, they were just getting run over getting tackles broken. Like, they tried to play John Rice Plumlee. He clearly is not back yet. Pulled him, didn't matter. They have a bye week, then go to Oklahoma, so good luck there. Maybe he gets healthy, but I'm not sure who's better, him or Timmy McClain. But like, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to use this as a like, see, you shouldn't be complaining thing, because that's not what I'm gonna say. But like, that team, a lot of people, rightly, wrongly, we can debate that, saw them as like, these guys are definitely going to be the best team of the 4 coming into the Big 12. These guys haven't, like, they were some people's sleeper pick to like make the Big 12 championship or at least contend for it. So, and now we've seen them. Kansas State is good, but they lost. They looked terrible at Oklahoma State on Friday night. They lost that. They blitzed them. Baylor had the ridiculous comeback, and then they got destroyed at Kansas. So they're 0-3 in the conference. They just signed Gus to a long-term extension. They had a lot of dudes coming back, apparently, killing the transfer portal.
Yeah.
All of the cliches. And they're having just as much, I mean, I won't say just as much, if not more, but like, do you think anybody down there is feeling great about their situation right now?
I saw somebody post, can we just send them back to the AAC? I did see that. And I haven't seen anybody say that about UC.
Well, no, because our fans aren't ridiculously annoying and chirping at other fan bases before we've ever stepped on the field of a conference game. And we most of us had an understanding that with a staff turnover, with a roster turnover, and a step up in competition, there's probably not a lot of reasons to run our mouths until we prove that, maybe that's okay. Unlike those clowns. But like, yikes. I just tweeted out yikes yesterday from the Bearcat Journal account, kind of in the middle of the second quarter there, because they look rough.
I was gonna say, I did, like, that was a game that I was able to like flip on here and there, and like it just seemed like every time I flipped it on, there was a blue jersey just like streaking down the field. Off of like not even any kind of creative running play. Like, I mean, it was just like, here's the ball. That's the direction you got to go.
I love Kansas's offense. Like, I have a buddy that's a Michigan State fan, and I've been telling him for 2 weeks, like, you guys need to hire Lance Leipold. And he's like, he's old. I'm like, so what? He's won everywhere he's been. I love their offense. I could watch them play offense. Like, I would love to go to one of their practices and be able to stand like close and watch how they do offense, like the motions and the misdirection. There's just always something that is moving, is trying to get one or two guys on the defense hesitant, trying to get them to take a false step. Like, it's very fun offense to run. And we saw yesterday, I mean, when it's humming, you can rip off 4 bills on the ground, that you've got it working. But, again, yes, we would like to be, if I told you, and could be this, or could have this record, could have it, like, sometimes there are steps. And I think we're seeing it with, UC, Houston, UCF, to a lesser extent BYU. I mean, they've clearly had, outside of their loss to Kansas, off to a good start.
Yeah.
They still have a very tough schedule. Still play Texas, still play Kansas State, still play Oklahoma. Still play Oklahoma, not Kansas State. But it's just part of the process, I think. And hopefully this week off, giving them a good chance to evaluate some of these specific areas we've been talking about, and you can kind of start to get a bounce back. They will play Iowa State next week, who I'm not surprised. I'm still kind of surprised they won. I think TCU's got some major offensive issues. I saw a tweet where it was like their last 12 possessions, and it was just interception, punt. Like they threw 4 interceptions. This is what I said last week with Iowa State. I'm glad we didn't have to play them the week after Oklahoma torched them.
Yep.
Because they got the defensive bounce back game that I did not want them to get against us. 4 interceptions, held TCU to 14 points. Their offense is still pretty suspect, but when you pick the ball off 4 times, you're probably giving your offense some short fields to work. So I think it'll be quite a defensive, quite a low scoring game next week. But
they had 353 total yards, 138 through the air, and 215 on the ground.
And I'm sure a lot of that 215 was compiling when they're up and just running the ball, not afraid to give it back to their defense based on the way they were playing.
I mean, they were 16 for 28 passing, which isn't like elite and it isn't like super awful. I mean, it's 50% or so, just a little over. The point you made last week was like not wanting to catch them on their bounce back game or on their like kind of like we're not really that's not really us game.
Knowing how their defensive coordinator is, I'm sure it was a very rough week of practice, and they took it out on TCU. And then I guess Baylor. I mean, you're reading some comments and from one of the receivers post game, basically said like there's some dudes here that don't want to be here. Texas Tech, my Big 12 title team, they're coming. They lost to West Virginia, but they're bouncing back 2 in a row. So we'll see how they do. Looks like quarterback Tyler Shuck's back healthy, playing well. But we got Baylor then after Iowa State, and it just seems like they have a bye 2 now. So we're gonna play them coming off of a bye. Seems like they've got a lot of internal things and on the field things that are not lining up for them.
Not exactly the greatest situation for them down there, and
that's a tough look. You would hope that you pull off that ridiculous comeback, and that's like the like flushing of all of the crap out of the system. Right. Like, okay, guys, we got it all out. Like the first half of the year did not go the way we wanted. Great job doing this. Like, let's use that as our calling. Like, this is who we really are. Our bounce back for the rest of the season. And they just came out and looked dreadful from the start.
Well, I just saw a clip from the game, and I'll go ahead and just say probably what we're all thinking is it started with what they're wearing.
They wore the all yellow?
All yellow head to toe.
Yeah, that's not
I'm
a great
typically
look.
like a fan of like the monochromatic matching top to bottom, like the icy whites and that kind of thing. I'm the only team that should wear all yellow top to bottom are the Savannah Bananas, and that's because they're a joke of a team.
That's a bit, there's certain colors I don't need to see a lot of.
So,
but that was kind of it from the Big 12. We mentioned earlier Oklahoma State had a nice win at home against Kansas State on
my Big 12
Friday night.
My Big 12 championship team, Kansas State, not so hot.
What was that?
They're we're about midway down the list of Big 12 teams here in the rankings with Kansas State. So they need to really get it in gear if my prediction is to hold water.
Well, they still can. I mean, they play Texas. They don't play Oklahoma, so they can. If they run the table and 1 loss, then with a win over Texas, they would probably hold a tiebreaker unless somebody else unforeseen also has 1 loss, and then there's whatever maybe happened in their game or whatever tiebreakers. I still am not sure how tested they've been, but I don't feel like I'm going out on too big of a limb saying my preseason national champion is the best team in the country right now.
52-10 over Minnesota yesterday.
Yeah, there's looking good because of your competition, and then there's just kind of looking good because you're good.
Yeah.
And that defense, man,
there is I would say quite a bit of separation here, I think, between those top two teams, and right now that's kind of looking the way it's going to go. I mean, obviously, like, Michigan's going to have to play Ohio State. Ohio State's not bad, and that, being a rivalry game, that can kind of that can flip either team's season on its head.
I think right. Michigan has yesterday's 10 points allowed is the most they've given up this season in a game. And I think Ohio State fans are watching their games while also thinking, oh my God, Michigan's going to destroy us again. Like, I think they're half watching their game and they're watching it through the lens of the Michigan game. And it's not pretty because there's something. I mean, that defense is good. Like, I will give the Buck. I mean, I think that defense is good. I think after Maryland jumped out a little bit on them yesterday, they clearly figured some stuff out and put the clamps down. But like, that offense is just seems totally disjointed. And you're replacing CJ Stroud with a guy that's never really played, and so that can be understandable. But like, Maryland was smoking them in the first half for the majority, and I'm like, is their defense like supposed to be great?
And they gifted. I mean, Maryland should have gone into the half with the lead, which that's halftime, and it was still 10-10, but they should have kicked the field goal there. For whatever reason, they threw it over the middle with no timeouts and only 6 seconds left on the clock. So
yeah, I mean,
that can speak a little bit of momentum. Another, and I don't know if that was I can't imagine that the play call was throw it over the middle.
No, and you look at
not to the sticks, but
Michigan's schedule. Yes, they play Ohio State at the end of the year, but it's like their next 3 games: Indiana, at Michigan State, and Purdue. So, I don't think they're really going to get challenged in any of those. I think they did the absolute bare minimum because they knew they could in games against Bowling Green and Rutgers and Nebraska. And it's just, they're more than content to 31-6, 38-7, and they'll just, I think they're the best team in the country.
Yeah.
I think they've played the best so far this year. And it's going to be hard for me to come off that point if they don't lose. Switching to the number 1 team in the country, I saw this tweet, so I'm stealing it. But it feels like over the last several years that Georgia and Kentucky have played a lot of fake big games. Like, there's been a lot of like, Kentucky, look what Kentucky did. Ran the ball for, all these yards, and their defense is pretty good. Is this a scary spot for Georgia? And then they just absolutely from the jump we went out to dinner, and I think the game started at 7, and we get there and they turn it on
21-0.
It was 14-0, and they're driving. I'm like, it's like 7:08. Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. The UK had 183 total yards.
So Georgia finally decided to destroy somebody.
Georgia had 608 yards.
Well, I think Carson Beck was perfect in the first half, wasn't he?
I don't know. He went 28-35 for 389, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, and then the UK running back had 15 carries for 59 yards, which is a far cry from, I believe, the 280 he put up last week.
278 against Florida. So you're telling me Georgia and Florida, the world's largest cocktail party here in a couple of weeks isn't going to be a very good game.
Probably not going to be a very. I mean, Brock Bowers had 7 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown. Like, that guy's a freak too.
He's good. Yeah.
Like, real good.
But yeah, I would definitely say them. And, if they play like that, they're probably going to be in a position to three-peat. But, I think Michigan so far this year, I've been more impressed. And granted, I don't think they're playing as good a teams. Georgia's already played, a pretty decent South Carolina team that gave him trouble for a little while. The Auburn game was obviously pretty close. I don't think Auburn's very good, but that's a 100-year-old rivalry on the road. Like, sometimes that's going to happen. But those two teams feel a cut above to me.
Yeah. I think we kind of hinted at that at the beginning of this, 6 weeks ago, whenever we started this year, that those would be probably the two teams that we would pick for the national championship game.
Yep.
And Notre Dame gets just flat shellacked down in Louisville.
Yeah, that was like 13-13, and then all of a sudden it was a blowout.
Yeah. Like, I happened to I was scrolling through the scores, and I didn't even really think about it much or whatever. I was at work and kind of pulled my phone out to look to see what the scores were, and I'm like 33. It was like 33 to I think 14 or something with 2 minutes to go in the game, and I was like, well, that's not ideal for our buddies up in South Bend.
No, you know who I'm really liking this year, and now that they've got Tez Walker back,
UNC.
UNC, I think, is a sneaky undefeated potential team. They're 14th right. They're 14th right now. They play Miami next, who had whatever that was last night, and then they play Duke. But maybe who knows if Duke's quarterback is back by the middle of November when they play them, and then they're at Clemson and at NC State, which neither of those teams. I don't know. I mean, Drake May, he threw. I got to watch a decent amount of that yesterday. He threw a couple deep balls that I'm just like, my word, man, just like absolutely. Dude's made some really, really nice diving catches on him, but like, that's going to be a hard team to keep under, 30, 35, 40 points, and they've got a defense that's pretty good too.
Did you see the punt?
I did not see did he punt? He punts too?
No. Their punter, the North Carolina punter, got a punt blocked, and it bounced to the left. He caught it on the bounce, and so now he's going to advance it. And he advances it up the sideline, gets the first down, and gets absolutely obliterated. His face mask was folded in.
Oh my!
So they said he was sitting on the field for 20 minutes, but I guess he was a pretty big time rugby player growing up. So they were he'll probably just shake that one off. I don't know that you just shake it off when your face mask gets folded in on itself.
Yeah, it's I like him, and we'll see. The ACC is always a volatile league week to week. Seems like outside of Clemson. So, we'll kind of see how that shakes down, but they definitely caught my attention of late. I'm trying to see what other games in here. Texas Alabama, Texas A&M. I enjoy Alabama's offense because their quarterback can really only do one thing, and that's throw the ball deep. So it's fun to watch them either run the ball or run 4 verts and just chuck it. But
that's Jalen Milrose, who's kind of, I guess, come to the top of the quarterback room there.
Yeah, he's which I'm not surprised about, but
yeah.
The bigger question is A&M 4-2. Next, they're at Tennessee next week. they still got to go to Ole Miss and to LSU. Like, I know whatever's left on that contract is a lot, but like, yet another. I don't know like what Jimbo is doing. You need to score a touchdown, and he basically kicks a meaningless field goal towards the end of towards the very end of the game, and I mean,
a lot of head scratching coaching decisions.
There's a lot of dollars left on that contract, so I'm not saying something's going to happen, but like they could lose at Tennessee, at Ole Miss, at LSU, and you're staring at like another 7-5-ish.
I mean, really,
season.
And so if you look at it, probably the only like absolute, I would say, guaranteed win is the Abilene Christian game. I mean, they still have South Carolina, who's not atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you just kind of took Alabama to the ropes there, but like,
well, and they were up and then just giving up deep. It's a weird deal. I'll drop this little nugget in. Last week we had UC BYU in SP Plus. I believe it was BYU 48, UC 49 going into the game. We got another one of those this week. The Bearcats actually moved up a couple spots without playing. The new SP Plus poll has been released. We have number 44 Iowa State versus number 46 UC. So another game of about as in these terms equal as you can have. So it'll come down to mistakes and the same stuff that it always does.
Right, exactly. And if we can score once we get inside, the red zone.
Playing at Iowa State might actually help. Like we might not get to the red zone, so maybe we'll score from outside the red zone,
and I'm okay with that,
and do better that way.
If we're just like dropping like 30-40 yard touchdown passes and runs, I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
stay outside of that, throw the ball deep.
The LSU Missouri game was a fun one. You had the losing quarterback throwing for 411 yards. The winning quarterback threw for 259 and 3 touchdowns, and then also ran for 130 and a touchdown. You got 2 receivers going over 140 yards, one on each team. That was there's been some fun SEC. You had the Ole Miss LSU game, and now the LSU just doesn't play any defense, which is just stunning. That they don't have dudes that can cover wide receivers because they're just not playing any defense.
Well, I mean that's apparently it's working out a little bit here. You just got to score. I mean,
you just got to score 50 a game.
Right, it's what the USC like thought process, like just score between 50 and 80 points a game, and let the chips fall where they may. Yeah. Did you see the press conference that Brian Kelly had?
No, I did not.
So he ended it, and it was it's very we're off to Columbia, so make sure you're wearing your Columbia jackets.
What?
And
what?
And everybody
is that supposed to be like a dad joke?
Well, then he had taken a step off from behind the podium, realized that no one was laughing at it, and he was like,
"It's not funny."
He was like, "It was a joke," and then he just kept walking. And so when it got posted, somebody posted underneath it and was like, "I miss his fake accent." I'd rather him talk like he was, I guess, from the South than make these jokes about. It doesn't even make sense. What? He's like, we're off to Columbia. Make sure you bring your Columbia jackets.
But they're not even off. Okay, now I'm very confused because They don't play South Carolina.
Columbia, was it Columbia, Missouri?
Yeah, but if it was after the game, why would you be off to Columbia?
No. It was before.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Before
this
the
was
Missouri game.
post,
Yeah.
I thought you were this
No.
post game press conference.
No, it was before the Missouri game.
Okay, it's still a very stupid joke, but at least it makes like
a little bit of sense,
literal sense.
Yeah, like you would just in that case, like it could have been a little more, like maybe it would have landed better if he just said like, make sure you wear your. I don't know that there's a way to save that joke at all.
No, it's just a bad joke.
And that's our boy Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think for the late night, it was nice to see Fresno and Wyoming get the regular Fox kickoff. You had Mikey Keene of UCF lore as Fresno's starter now. Wyoming, man,
wow,
5-1, wins at home against ranked Fresno, Texas Tech. Like, stop playing. I mean, of course, if you're in conference, you can't really avoid it.
Avoid that.
If you're a non-conference team, like, do not go to Laramie. Like, just stop doing that. It's really dumb.
Like,
that's I think like one of, if not the highest altitude of any college football team.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's high. Yeah, it's considerably higher, I think, than like Denver and whatever's in Colorado.
BYU was also kind of a little bit out. I know it's not anywhere close to that. I wouldn't think, but maybe it is.
So like, just stop going there. Don't schedule games at Wyoming in the non-conference. App State went there and lost. They got beat 31-10 to Texas, but I mean that up until this point,
that was at Texas. So
yeah,
Texas was at least smart enough not to go to Wyoming.
For sure. So I'm trying to think. We have an interesting Big 12 game next week. We'll get your thoughts on this. The surprise of the conference, I think, so far has been West Virginia. There was talk going into the season that, like, would they have a coach at this point? Like, would Neil Brown be fired? And they certainly are not firing him when they are, I believe, 4-1. They are playing at home this Thursday night against Houston. Dana coming back to Morgantown in a season that is not going great, coming off a bye week. With Texas next week, if they lose this game, are we? Oh my God! They go West Virginia at home, Texas at Kansas State.
He's gone.
Like, if they lose all three of those games, that could be an interesting situation. But that is a very interesting game this Thursday, given the anxiety that I'm sure Houston is feeling, because
it'll be a whole case of Red Bulls on the.
They came into this situation thinking, finally, we're in a Power 5. We can recruit Houston. We can get all those bounce back transfers that left town because we were in the AAC. And now they're going to come back because now we're in the Big 12. And we got Texas at home. There's always been this huge infighting with Texas and Houston. And we get them at home before they leave. And if they lose this game, I think they'll be 2-4 going into a game against Texas.
They'll be 2-4 going into the Texas game. They would be then 2-5 going into Kansas State, 2-6 going into Baylor, and 2-7 coming to UC, or play with UC coming to them.
Baylor, Houston. That could be a real fun one.
Real barn burner. And they might not have a coach going into that game.
But I will definitely be watching for the Dana Holgerson sideline antics. That's for sure.
There's gonna be a whole cooler full of Red Bulls.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a really packed house at whatever abbreviation their stadium name is, or some like TDECH stadium or whatever. I don't even know, but yeah, we have you have that game. You have 4 teams are off, so you only have a few games this week. Nothing else really jumps out in conference. I guess Kansas State at Texas Tech would be. Oklahoma State, Kansas. Oklahoma State coming off a nice win, going to Kansas. Or no, they'll be at home. Kansas at home. But I don't really want to. So we'll transition. I think we've pretty much covered everything we need to cover nationally. I have no interest in talking about the Bengals. They stink.
Oh God, they're so bad, Dave.
They're unenjoyable to watch. I'm gonna hopefully get some yard stuff done, and then I'll sit down and at least give it a bit of my attention at the jump. But not sure how they're gonna have to earn it after that. I did not watch a play of the second half last week against. I watched a Ryder Cup recap podcast that was running live on YouTube over that abomination that was the second half in Nashville. So
yeah, I didn't watch much at all of it. Like I was really kind of disappointed this year that like all of my daughter's, first grade soccer games are scheduled at like noon or 1 o'clock on Sundays. Now I just don't care. Like,
yeah, you haven't missed anything.
Not a thing. And like they've got a game today, and if they win, they'll be like, I guess they'll be like the number 1 seed coming out of their little group going to whatever the state tournament thing is that they've got going on. So that's way more important than a bunch of these guys that are apparently like whining and complaining about touches, and I don't know. Well,
yeah,
they don't seem to be having much fun downtown. And
not right now. You usually don't when you play like garbage.
It's kind of they've been playing.
It's kind of what I've said about UC at points, certainly offensively. Like it's everybody. Like don't point one thing. Like you can't play that bad with these type of players and just try to single out one thing. Like Joe is compromised, sure. Well, then it's on the coaching staff to figure out ways to play around that, and then it's on the other players to help compensate for that. Like it's everything. So unless they figure it out today on the road against I guess I'm not going to call them good. They're 1-3, but like the Cardinals have played better than I was expecting. One of the worst teams in recent NFL history, like just getting blown out left and right, and that has not been the case for the most part. So they will have their hands full if they keep playing the way they've been playing. Bearcats in the NFL.
This is the big one that I wanted to bring up. Just got tweeted out from NFL Rookie Watch that Jason Kelce hasn't allowed a single sack in 1 year, 11 months, and 21 days, and he's only allowed 1 quarterback hit over the past 1,038 days.
That's pretty good for an old guy that's too small.
Yeah, and then they also mislabeled him as coming to UC as a running back, which I think happens far too often. He was a linebacker.
Yes,
correct. There were several UC folks jumped into the comments to let him know, like, no, he was a linebacker.
God forbid somebody made a mistake on Twitter.
Right, exactly. Oh no, end of the world. What matters is he's a center now, and he's arguably the best center ever. Yeah.
They also gave on their podcast New Heights. They gave a little shout out to Ivan Pace, who's still got it going for the Vikings. So that's good to see. I'm gonna need a bounce back game from Dez today. He I think we're skating on some thin ice. If we don't get a better performance today, we might see him move soon to Taylor Heineke, which would then probably lead, if that stayed the way the rest of the year, that would probably lead, assuming things played out a certain way, to them drafting or trying to draft one of these quarterbacks that are going to be in this upcoming draft. So he has not had he's had a couple moments, but has not had a great start to the season.
Yeah, not spectacular. And I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about college football, so I'm just gonna say it anyway because it's important for this show. Did you see? That there was there's been a quarterback change at Pitt?
And, yes, I did. I noticed that. Yes, there's been not only a quarterback change, a
position change,
a total position change.
He's now a tight end, Phil Jerkovich.
I guess that'll happen when you stunk against UC and stunk against West Virginia. Yeah.
I saw that. I saw it come out. And I was like, I gotta tell Dave about this. I gotta know. I don't know how often Pitt news pops up on your Twitter timeline. So
and on the Bearcat Journal, when I have to follow.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say have to. I follow a lot of just so I don't miss any like news. And
right.
so it got on there somehow. Some national person, they probably retweeted a Pitt person. But yeah, you don't see that a lot, before October really hits.
Well,
if your big transfer quarterback that you brought in is now your third string tight end, because they have two pretty good tight ends, so he's not playing over them.
Right. I mean, it's not like you brought him in, the spring ball game, all that kind of stuff happened, and you're like, hey, I think it might be better if you like move positions.
Right.
It's the middle of October, like you said, and they're like, this isn't really working out so well.
Yeah, you brought him in because he was your guy.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, well, tell her to be quiet.
Yeah, Siri is just going off really loud.
But I don't know. I think that's a good rundown of. I mean, I wouldn't say nobody else from a UC in the NFL standpoint has, outside of Ivan and Jason being Jason and Travis being Travis.
Right.
I don't really think there's anybody that's, put some back-to-back weeks together or really even had like a big week to kind of monitor. I mean, I know Chris Moore had one long catch last week against the Bengals, and then Gallic Pierce had a
Josh Wiley.
Okay, yeah, touchdown.
He had his first touchdown.
First catch and touchdown. So that's always nice when your first catch is a touchdown.
To be honest, I didn't even know that he played for Tennessee. I feel bad about that because obviously he hasn't. It's not like he's been
fifth round pick. I always love that. See, the Bengals could have drafted him. I mean,
right?
Yeah, they could have. And he's just had his first catch 5 games in. So right. Let's be real. Like, how much impact do we? I think that's just an easy trope to be like, look at they have all these players just up the street. They don't even look at them.
Right.
Now, you could argue they should be looking at tight ends more, and I don't disagree. I mean, they've done the bare minimum the last 2 years. It worked last year. This year it hasn't to date. So I understand that side of it. But it's, Twitter is always good for a former Bearcat does something good. Why didn't the Bengals draft him? Like that's a very typical go-to.
Yeah.
But no, you got the 2-point conversion from Derrick Henry on the running back pass.
Yeah.
So hopefully that is something that kind of gets him going, because Titans don't really have a ton of great pass catchers. You have an older DeAndre Hopkins. Traylon Burks has been in and out of the lineup with injuries. The former Arkansas wide receiver. So, I mean, maybe there's a chance to carve in a nice role as a tight end in their kind of ball control play action offense.
Yeah. That Sauce did get squeezed on a kind of a ticky-tack holding call that pretty well salted the game away for Kansas City last week.
And I thought it was on the other guy.
And they called it on Sauce. Maybe they said the wrong number, but
because I think he was talking about. I thought he was talking about the play as like, I don't know. Maybe I thought they called it on a different player, but yeah, that call was pretty loose. I mean,
yeah,
I would be, regardless of whether the player was a Bearcat or not, I'd be like, man, that's a pretty soft call.
But I mean, the Chiefs had to win because otherwise Aaron would be sad that his girl Taylor's boyfriend lost. So
I know.
Aaron's a big
huge Swiftie.
Big Swiftie. Big Travis Taylor
Swiftie.
Or whatever.
He's got all the bracelets, all the albums. He dresses up as a different era, every other day. Yeah, big fan. So I'm glad
surprised he hasn't jumped in. He must not be sitting right in front of his computer.
Oh no, he is. He's very angry right now.
All right. Well, we got what, Iowa State next week.
But I think we have a little Bearcat on Bearcat this week. We had it last week with Vikings Eagles, and this week we have it with Eagles or Vikings Chiefs. So
we also had Jets Chiefs last week.
Yeah, we got a little Ivan Pace, Travis Kelce. I don't know how much coverage he does for them, but if he comes across the middle, he's better watch out. Taylor's gonna have to come down the field and help him out.
Well, we know how Ivan likes to play. So.
Yeah, buddy. Yes, we do. But that'll do it for today. Thank you for everybody. Tonk, Steve, and Natalie, Chris, all our loyals. We appreciate it greatly. I know we didn't touch too much on the Bearcats, but sometimes you just kind of let it breathe. We'll get back at it next Sunday after homecoming, Iowa State noon. Weather is looking iffy right now. Your tailgate might get a little wet. Hopefully that moves out for the game. But we will see everybody back here next Sunday morning on another edition of the Bearcat Brunch, brought to you, as always, by our great partners at Royal Links Golf Tours. Please go check them out if you're looking to head across the pond for a big golf trip with the buddies. I know they got a huge, awesome couples trip to Italy working. Lots of golf and lots of other fun things to do. So thanks to Aaron. Thanks to Jeff. We will see you back next Sunday. Have a great day, Cincinnati.